All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 15th, 2025 meeting of the Comox Valley Regional District Board Directors. We are going to begin, as we always do, with a recognition of the traditional territories and just acknowledging that we do our business today on the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land, and read today call to action number 75, missing children and burial information. We call upon the federal government to work with provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, churches, Aboriginal communities, former residential school students, and current landowners to develop and implement strategies and procedures for the ongoing identification, documentation, maintenance, commemoration, and protection of residential school cemeteries or other sites at which residential school children were buried. This is to include the provision of appropriate memorial ceremonies and commemorative markers to honor the deceased children. Moving to business, we have minutes from June 17th for adoption, board minutes. Any comment on those minutes? Anyone opposed? That carries. We'll now move to June 24th minutes for adoption. Okay, any questions on those minutes? Anyone opposed to adoption? That carries. Thank you. We'll move into reports, and the first. Thank you. This is for receipt. Now I'll tell you what it is. The Comox Valley Transit Management Advisory Committee, May 13th, 2025, minutes for receipt. Any questions? It's moved and seconded. Any questions? None. And any opposed? And that carries. June 17th, strat planning session outcomes. Thank you very much. And there's a report here, and I'll just pass it over to our CAO to introduce that.
Thank you, Chair. Just a really brief report here to the directors. June 17th, you participated in a strategic planning workshop. This is a regular occurrence and an opportunity for the board to consider the drivers, the way in which you do your business, as well as the strategic initiatives that you've identified over the years. As there is 15 months or so until the next local government local elections, this strategic planning session was seen as an opportunity to identify the focus for the coming 16 months and put your efforts towards those particular initiatives. The report attached comes from the facilitator that supported the board in that strategic planning workshop, Alison Habkirk. And in it, she identifies of all the initiatives, the ones that are to stay the course, to have a stronger emphasis, and others to perhaps pull back a little bit from. And any further discussion here certainly welcome from the board. There's no recommendation to this report. However, as these projects evolve and decision points come forward and updates are required, we'll be coming to you at committee, commission, and board meetings to keep you current on that. So happy to support any discussion that you may have on this particular report, but like I said, there's no recommendations being presented here.
All right, thanks, CEO. Not seeing any lights on or any questions. So this is for receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? And that carries. Next item is Denman Green Housing Project funding request. There's a report for receipt and then a recommendation. So I can a motion for receipt, please. Thank you. Thanks very much. And I'll pass that again over to our CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Jake Martins, our General Manager of Corporate Services, will be introducing this report, and it comes on the heels of a delegation to the board on June 24th. So Jake's providing some context and information, and there's a recommendation presented here for the board. Jake, for the report.
Thank you, James, and good afternoon to the board. Yes, so at the last meeting, the board had received a delegation from the Denman Community Housing Society, and they had outlined their request for a financial commitment to the Denman Green project for $1.4 million. The Denman Green project is a proposed non-market rental unit development that would follow the BC housing guidelines, in which rentals would be offered up at 20% deep subsidy, 50% rent geared to income, and 30% market or near market. This proposal directly aligns with the board's recently established Comox Valley Housing Service, in which the board has identified a strong objective to create more non-market rental housing throughout the region. Given the recent establishment of the service and its focus on the creation and launch of a housing entity, we don't have a policy framework or other sort of guidance that can help support this kind of grant. We also haven't put out an open call for grants to the community, so we don't have a full understanding of all the applications that may be out there, all the other groups that may be pursuing similar funding from BC Housing. But we do see a strong merit for contributions to this project. It's in an advanced state of readiness, and certainly it aligns with the board's service that I've just mentioned. Staff are recommending a $200,000 commitment, as grants in this range have been contemplated for the service. And so with that, though, the board does have discretion to vary that amount to any level it deems suitable, or alternatively to not provide any grant at all. With that, Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to answer any questions.
All right, thanks very much. We're on receipt here, but any questions or comments at this point? Director Brown.
I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I appreciate also that we don't have a policy to guide this work quite yet. But I think the intent behind creating the Housing Corporation was to get moving on housing ASAP. And this project looks to be ready to go, and we have reserves in place. And I think it's a great place to start with one of the smallest communities in our region.
All right, thanks very much. And Director A area, Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to speak to the initial request from Denman Communities Housing, and I agree it's an awkward time with the Housing Authority not being stood up yet and policy in place and all those things. But at the same time, the BC Housing Call closes at the end of this month, and this is their third or fourth round applying for funding. So this is a group that's been going at it for many, many years. I want to speak about the 1.4 million and why I think it's a stretch for us, but at the same time, I understand the ask. Denman Island is going to contribute about 50 grand a year to the service for as long as we have the service. So that's kind of the requisition on that island. Unlike the big municipalities, we're likely to just see one project every 25 years. So when you look at that 50 grand over 20 or 25 years, and as the staff report indicates, they already have a couple $100 grand in the pots from the island. I think it wasn't necessarily unreasonable to ask for an amount like that, because they're unlikely to come back to the table here. If the board is willing, and obviously I'll be in favor, but I don't know how others feel. But one thing that I would like to do, though, with the recommendation is just to add another clause, and I'll explain why. I would like to add, when it comes to the motion, and further that staff continues to collaborate with Denman Housing in exploring potential further contributions to the project if this helps secure BC Housing financing. And what we found is BC Housing is increasingly asking for contributions from local government, pay-to-play kind of scheme. And I'm aware that Denman may have other ideas for us that could be compelling to the board. Now, we're not binding ourselves to anything. I just would like for our board to be able to continue working with them at some scenarios that could come back to our table. This said, I'd be really happy to see the first one, but if the chair allows, or if the board wants to contemplate that, I would love to add that clause. Thanks.
I believe we're still on receipt, so when the time comes, you can just move it directly, Director Arbor, and we'll go to Director McCollum.
Yeah, I just want to appreciate staff bringing this back to the board. And in this way, I think that the suggestion put forward is fairly in line with what I think is reasonable, kind of given this stage that we're at with the Housing Authority. And mulling over what their request was after the delegation, it's about $70,000 a unit, which is quite a high amount for the region, no matter how you slice it. That might be the number that would kind of guarantee the project. And I understand why that was the ask. It's a hard number to meet because it also sets some type of precedent. And that's a small number of units if that's the kind of subsidy that we're looking at going forward. So yeah, this is more around $10,000, which to me is a good amount to contribute. But one question I did have, because while we don't have a policy around it, it is a discussion that we are wanting to tackle, and that's around DCC waivers for sewer and water. And I am not totally clear, but I have the assumption that this would not apply for either of those waivers because they're not on a water or sewer service. So were this to be in a municipality and we were waiving CBRD water and sewer DCCs, what would that subsidy be per unit? I realize that you're not water or sewer, Jack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I appreciate that this has been contemplated recently by the sewage commission and the water committee. I'm a bit unsure of the.
No decision has been made. I'm just
Exactly.
wondering what, and this is probably not a question for you, as I don't imagine you know the number off the top of your head, but what our current DCC is for water and sewer that we would
Yeah, I think that
theoretically maybe waive.
I think we can get that number for you fairly quickly. And Chris LaRose is here. He could probably provide that answer on the DCC rates for water and sewer. Yeah, Chris, do you want to come to the table if you've got those numbers even ballpark?
Yeah,
in mind?
ballpark would be.
And I also mentioned that we've just come through a DCC update for sewer, and water is also due for updates, I believe. So, Chris.
Yeah, so through the chair, as James just mentioned, we are partway through the sewer DCC update process. So the existing sewer DCC is about $7,000 per connection. That's proposed to go up pretty dramatically for single family, up to about 18,000, and a little lower, I believe, approximately 12 for high density. Existing water DCCs are about 3,400, and we're much farther behind on that process. Not sure where that's going to land. That just provides a bit of a ballpark in terms of what those cumulative.
Yeah, that is helpful. I mean, whether we're picking current numbers or numbers going forward, it would probably for kind of a multifamily development land somewhere around the $15,000 per unit range. Give or take a few $1,000 in either direction. So my thinking is, were this within a municipal boundary, we would probably be having a discussion closer to that amount. So I would be comfortable with providing a subsidy closer to that amount, given that, some of the rationale in approaching us is around this rural urban divide and that they've got some of their own costs there in addition. And part of that is that they're not hooking into existing infrastructure. So I'm open to other thoughts, but I would be comfortable getting the number closer per unit to what we would consider waiving for DCCs. I think we have done that in the past at this table for the Wache development. I could be wrong about that, but yeah. So I'm just putting it out there as maybe a way to approach a number for this request.
All right, thanks very much. And Dr. Arbroath, go to you for a response.
Yeah, thanks. I think my perspective, that was really helpful because I haven't thought in those terms before, but my perspective is probably a little bit different in that I would prefer to contribute zero. For me, it's what is the number that's going to hook BC Housing, that's going to be shown as being significant enough of a contribution from local government. They didn't cook up the 1.4 million. That's based on their financial model for the project. That's the gap, so that they don't end up taking on a mortgage that basically bankrupts the organization because they can't sustain the mortgage they would have to put on the property, right? So there's this still a significant gap in the project. It will be great if our contribution of 200,000 or whatever the amount is just hooks BC Housing onto the project at the level of subsidy, a bit like what we're doing with Hornby, that will open the doors. That project is now financially sound. I wish BC Housing told us specifically what number they want to see from local government, but we don't have BC Housing talking to us in those terms because they will compare every project across the province and make decisions on, even for rural communities, which one might be more cost efficient and such. So, however, the reason why I put my light on is the water and sewage. It doesn't mean that because they're not connecting onto the system that people will not brush their teeth and also go to the bathroom. And one of the multiple reasons, which we could spend all day here, but that I want to add that clause to the motion is we have expertise in small water system management and sewage. And one of the big hurdles for small communities is actually to look after those systems. So there may be conversation as to how we could potentially support some of those aspects of the project. We're nowhere near that, but I think there's multiple ways that we might be able to help the project. So yeah. So anyways, for today, I think, as you said, 10,000 seems reasonable as a subsidy for unit. I just hope it makes it. So, that the project makes the cut. And otherwise, we understand, but that BC Housing is having a rolling call, and we'll take the intakes and have a second look at them, once your application is in, which is why I would love for staff to be able to continue to work with them in housing, no matter what happens with this round of funding.
Thanks for that. And I was just doing a bit of quick math, and 200,000 divided by the 14 of the 20 units are below market. So 200,000 divided by 14 makes it's $14,285 per unit, which is very, very, very close to what Chris was saying, which is serendipitous. All right. Go ahead.
If I can just weigh in, I with respect to the waiver of DCCs, I know the board has made consideration for that in the past. I don't know that the board actually approved any DCC waivers. I'd have to double check to find that out. So I don't think they did. I don't think you did at one point. I know it went back and forth a couple of times, and I don't believe it did. We can double check and find out for you.
Still a useful metric to consider when thinking about per units subsidies. So it's really helpful to have that put on the table. So we're still on receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? And then that carries, and I'll go to Director Arbor if you want to make the motion as you planned. And I believe Lisa has the text. So
yeah. So, you have the text as well. Great. Yeah. So I'll move that as per the initial, that a conditional funding commitment of 200,000 from the CVR Housing Service Reserve Fund be made to the Denman Community Housing Society for Denman Green Project, subject to a successful BC Housing Community Housing Fund grant outcome 2025-2026, and further that staff continues to collaborate with Denman Housing and explore the potential for other contributions that would help secure BC housing financing.
great. We have a mover and a seconder. Anyone need further commentary on this? All right, seeing none, is there anyone opposed? That carries. All right, thanks everyone. We'll move next to the Comox Valley Transition Society Agreement Renewal Victim Services. And thank you for on receipt, and I'll pass this over to CAO Warren.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Before I introduce Howie Siemens, who is our Manager of Emergency Programs, I did just want to make a couple of comments. So it is with mixed emotions that we congratulate Howie on his upcoming retirement. Nearly 10 years ago, Howie joined the CVRD as the Emergency Planning Coordinator, stepping into the evolving field of emergency management with the goal of helping us mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters. From his early days in the modest Moray office to today, Howie has played a pivotal role in shaping our regional emergency management program. He's been instrumental in building a dedicated and skilled team that will help the CVRD meet the demands of the new Emergency and Disaster Management Act, EDMA. Exercises like the Fracture on Fifth have put our systems to the test, providing valuable lessons and action items that continue to guide our improvements, including the CVRD's emerging initiative to maintain a fully trained Emergency Operations Center team ready to mobilize from the Civic Room, from this room here. Beyond his professional achievements, Howie has been a steady and kind presence in the office, offering thoughtful leadership to his dynamic team. He has been a friend to some, a valued colleague to many, and a respected part of our organization. So, Howie, congratulations on your retirement, and you will be
Round of applause. You look like you wanted to say something. Okay, well, we'll go back to business, but thank you for your lasting contribution to emergency management. I could not think of a more important service that we provide. So thank you.
So yeah, without further ado, Howie Siemens will be introducing this report on the agreement renewal with agreement renewal for victim services service with Comox Valley Transition Society. Howie.
Great, thanks, James, and to the chair and to the directors. Thank you for the opportunity to present on this report. The purpose of this report is to request that the Comox Valley Regional Districts renew the 5-year agreement with Victim Services for the Comox Valley with the Comox Valley Transition Society. Since 2010, the Comox Valley Transition Society has been an umbrella organization to deliver the CVR Victim Services Program as defined in the Victim Services Program Extended Service Conversion Bylaw 2250-2000, while working collaboratively with local RCM and law enforcement agencies. The program provides support for companionship to court proceedings, meetings, liaisoning with police and Crown prosecutors, and as identified in the Appendix A, also provides practical and emotional support, crisis response, providing information and referrals to persons about the rights and understanding of Victims of Crime Act, provisions of services related to family court-related matters, and public education and awareness. Delivery of the police-based victim services program highlights the importance of partnership between the federal government, provincial and local governments, and nonprofit service providers in supporting the individuals that are experiencing abuse or trauma, or physical and emotional abuse and trauma based on crime. This help and support also is important for social fabrics of the community, the health and wellness of all citizens within the Comox Valley, and aligns well with the board's strategic driver, community partnerships and Indigenous relationships. The recommendation before you today is the 5-year agreement in general alignment with Appendix A of this sort of staff report, be the period of January 1, 2025 through December 1st, 2029, be approved. And to provide a stable, reliable source of funding, the agreement reflects the annual operating grant as adopted within the 2025-29 financial plan for the Comox Valley Transition Society to deliver victim services program. It has been a consolidated value of $525,000 across all 5 years of the service. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Perhaps it's not surprising that's not contentious. I think there's good support for the Transition Society around the table. Director Nickel, go ahead.
I fully endorse victim services, having worked in the field for years. Prior to the existence of victim services, all the responsibility fell on the intending officer. They basically didn't have the time nor the resources to handle it properly. And I totally commend victim services for the work they do, helping out the law enforcement. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Director Nickel. We're currently on receipt. Is there anyone opposed to receipt? That carries. Thank you. All right. Any discussion on the recommendation? Anyone opposed? And that carries too. All right. Thanks very much. And next, the Community Justice Center of the Comox Valley's Society Service Agreement Renewal. Thank you very much. And we'll go back to Howie. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and to the directors again. The purpose of this staff report is to request the Comox Valley Regional District enter into a 5-year agreement with the Community Justice Center of the Comox Valley Society. Since 1998, the Community Justice Center of the Comox Valley Society, sorry, most of the time it's usually first, provides restorative justice, peacemaking, and conflict resolution services for individuals, businesses, and organizations in the Comox Valley on behalf of the Comox Valley Regional District, the Village of Cumberland, and the City of Courtenay, and the Town of Comox, as defined in the Service Bylaw number 576, or as the Amendment number 2, 2262. These services are delivered through education and restorative justice dialogue, resolution processes, both as a prevention and in response to harm, including criminal, non-criminal matters, and discrimination based on education or response. This work contributes to the enrichment, safety, and well-being of community and aligns again with the CVRD board strategic drivers of accessibility, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which reflects a commitment to ensuring all community members have access to services and feel a sense of belonging in our region. By strengthening the relationships and collaboration across the community, these services all support the CVRD board strategic driver as both community partnerships and Indigenous relationships. The recommendation before you today is the 5-year service agreement with the Community Justice Center, Comox Valley Society, effective January 1st to 2025 through December 31st, 2029, be approved. To provide a stable and reliable source of funding, the agreement reflects the annual operating budget adopted within the 2025-2029 financial plan for Service 205, Comox Valley Community Justice, which is valued at $537,480 for over across the 5 years. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Right, Director Brown.
I don't have a question, but I do want to just express appreciation for our continued support and the increase in that support. I think CJC is a critical service provider in our communities, and that service level, I think, is increasing in accordance with our funding and the capacity that it's building in that organization. I'm super happy to see this, so thank you.
Nicely said. Thank you very much. So we're on receipt. Is anyone opposed to receipt? That carries in the recommendation. If someone cares to move it. Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on that? Anyone opposed? All right, that carries.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much, Howie. Have a great evening. Long-term borrowing security issue fall of 2025, Town of Comox for receipt. Thank you. Do you want to introduce this, CEO?
Thanks, Chair. Just I think brief presentation from Kelly Broughton, our Manager of Financial Planning, for this report. Kelly?
Thank you. Through the CAO to the chair. Staff are here to present bylaw number 882, the Comox Valley Security Issuing Bylaw, to allow for the participation in the fall 2025 Municipal Finance Authority long-term debt debenture on behalf of the town of Comox. Within the province of BC, MFA is a financial institution established to provide financing for local government infrastructure through low-cost and reliable borrowing solutions and other financial products. MFA is independent of the province and operates under the governance of a board comprised of members from the 27 regional districts in BC. Under the Local Government Act, Section 410, and the Community Charter, Part 6, Division 3, Section 182, for a municipality to participate in an MFA long-term debt issue, the regional district must undertake the borrowing on their behalf. The town of Comox wishes to participate in this issue for a total of $1,109,520 for funding of a capital project for a term of 10 years for a capital project that will provide funding for 6 of the town of Comox's facilities to be upgraded with the goal of achieving net zero in emissions. As the regional district undertakes the borrowing, and all members of the regional district become liable for the debt repayment if the member municipality were to default, the regional district board of directors must consent to the participation in this debt issue. The town of Comox has completed all the necessary steps required under the current legislation to participate in the fall issue. Therefore, staff are requesting that the board adopt the security issuing bylaw to facilitate long-term borrowing. Staff are requesting that all readings and adoption occur tonight in order to fulfill the timelines imposed through the MFA Fall 2025 debenture process. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Kelly. Not seeing any questions or comments, so we'll just dispense with receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? That carries, and there's a recommendation. Okay, moved and seconded. Any comments on that? Anyone opposed to the recommendation? And that carries. Thanks very much, Kelly. Okay. It's a first. Electoral Area Service Committee, July 14th. There's a couple of recommendations from that meeting. If someone cares to move recommendation number 1. Okay, this is the vote of the areas. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That carries. Recommendation 2. Okay, also a vote of the areas. Anyone opposed? And that carries. Recommendation 3. Okay. Anyone vote of the areas? Any comments? Anyone? Oh, sorry. That's surprised me with that. Yes, this is a vote of everyone. Any comments on this first? All right. Everyone voting? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Thanks. So now for first, second, and third reading, this is the Fire Service Administration Bylaw number 280. If someone cares to move that. Thanks for, okay. Anyone opposed to that? That carries. And for third reading? Anyone opposed to that? And that carries. Now for first, second, and third reading and adoption, we have the Comox Valley Regional District Security Issuing Bylaw, which we just spoke of. Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone opposed to that? That carries. And for third reading? Okay. Anyone opposed? That carries. And then final adoption, just like that. Anyone opposed? And that carries. Okay. And to recommendation for the bylaw, sorry, the security issuing bylaw number 876 for adoption. Moved and seconded. Anyone opposed? That carries, and we'll now move back in camera. And we'll, yeah. And Director Carr, I believe you may need to find yet another link. So good. Oh, you can stay on.